Hi, I'm Ayman,
I'm Izami.
and welcome back to another video in the series of converting our back patio into a 3-season sunroom, which is 3-season because it doesn't have a heater. So it's basically like a shed or a garage. In our last video, we talked about sheathing, the basics of sheathing, and how to cut sheathing. So go check out those videos if you're interested, but today we're going to install the sheathing. So actually, we're going to get right to it. Izami is over here. It's a nice day outside. It's about 50 degrees, even though it's January, which is pretty weird. But as you can see, Izami's pretty tightly packed. Which I guess he's always like this, even though he's up in Cambridge, where it snows all the time. So anyway, we're just going to put up this sheathing. So Izami, you want to help me out?
Where does it go?
So this side faces the outside. And we're going to put it on the left side of the sunroof. Curtain. Okay, so wait. That side. This. Wait. Lower your side. Okay. All right. We're going to put it on. Lower your side. All right. Right, let's hold it like this. Alright, let me put it behind this pipe. Lift it up. Alright. Now put it on. Okay. Oh, gotta be careful here. There we go. And then we want to get it right tucked behind. Whew. There we go. Thanks for helping out, Donnie. So there we go. Our first sheet of sheathing installed. Alright, so we have the sheathing up and we temporarily put in screws. You're actually supposed to put nails to permanently secure them. We'll talk about that later, or probably in a different video. A few things to talk about. First, we install this the right way. It's supposed to be vertical, and we'll also talk about that later. We also cut it a specific way, you see here, which we'll also talk about later. I could have carried this by myself, but and you saw that me and Izami had a bit of a trouble actually putting it on, but it was worth it because we had Izami show up in the video. So thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Actually talking about the sheathing, my dad was explaining it to Izami, and you know, my brother Izami, who goes to MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts, not in England, but he said that this was genius. So actually, well, let me show you why it's genius. My dad designed it so that you could put the sheathing up only with one person, and the way he did this was he put these pieces of wood on the bottom. He left about 1.5 inch gap on both the bottom and the top, and the reason that he put these blocks of wood here is so that you could support the sheathing, and you can also use screws on the bottom. Temporarily, but because this is OSB, it's really heavy, which means that once it's on the screws, they could probably break. They wouldn't be enough to support the OSB. So as you can see, we put these wooden blocks, or these pieces of wood, all across the entire length of the patio, so that when we put up the sheathing, you don't need one person to do it. And while I am going to be helping, while me and Izami are going to be helping my dad with the sheathing, sometimes we won't be available, so that's why I had the plan for this. So I figure I'm talking about a lot of different topics, and the reason why, well, actually I'll show you what I mean by demonstrating another piece of wood, or OSB I should say. So we're going to carry this over to the right side of the patio. Careful. And as you can see, we're going to be putting these on the bottom pieces of wood. And they're basically holding it so that we don't have to do the heavy lifting to keep it up. Then I'm going to slide it over to that side. Now be careful, don't let it fall off the piece of wood. Are you wearing sandals?
Yeah.
Whoa. Zami's
A little bit more.
Zami's very courageous. If he ever drops that piece of wood, ooh, that could hurt. But as you can see, we have these guides in place so that when we put the wood in, that we know that it's in the right place. But also, like I mentioned earlier, we put that piece of wood or that piece of OSB upright, vertically. However, we put this piece of wood horizontally, in the wrong orientation. Why do we do this? Well, it's not really wrong, actually. It's more like it's not the preferred way, I'd say. And I talk more about this in the other video on the basics of sheathing. We'll talk about the name of OSB. It's oriented strand board, and the important part is oriented, because this board is oriented so it's strong in a specific angle, or a specific orientation, I should say. And you can actually find the orientation that is strong in on the stamp right here. In this direction, the strength is strong. So the vertical axis is the strength axis, and that's where you usually want to orient the OSB when you're using it as sheathing. You don't want to put it sideways, because then it's not as strong. But there's really no right orientation as to how to put your OSB. You can put it vertically or horizontally. It's just designed with the thought in mind that you're going to put these upright. And I guess just to summarize it, there's a gap when you put it vertically that is by the building code that doesn't hold the same. It isn't true when you put the OSB horizontally. If you want to find out more, go check out my video on that. I explain it way better in that one. That's actually 47 7/8 of an inch. And the reason why there is a 1/8 of an inch taken away is because when you put these OSB boards up, you want to have a bit of spacing. And according to building code, you want that spacing to be 1/8 of an inch. And earlier, I was talking about how you could orient this horizontally, which if you do orient it horizontally, you'll see that it's exactly 8 feet or 96 inches. You can do that. You're not required to put it up vertically, but if you do that, notice that you'll have to, in order to abide by building code, you have to cut 1/8 of an inch, so that when you put the next sheathing, it retains that gap, while also retaining that spacing. Because like I said before, 96 is also a multiple of 16 and 24. Right here, we just talked about this. You want to space the panels 1/8 of an inch at the ends and 1/8 of an inch at the edges. But the reason that we put it horizontally here is because we want to save OSB. Normally when you put up OSB, can you hold this up? Normally when you put OSB, we put up entirely uncut sheets of OSB onto the side of the house or the patio. And then after that, we cut out the holes where the windows would be. But as you can see, we have super huge windows. We have 2 by 3 feet windows, so that's 4 windows. That's a total of 24 square feet that we're losing of OSB. So in order to conserve the amount of OSB we're using, we want to strategically cut it so that we lose as minimum as possible to the windows. And that's why I put this horizontally, because what we can do is we can take other sheets of OSB like this one, and then we can cut them so that they can go on the top and on the side. So just to recap, the reason that we put that OSB board horizontally was so that we can conserve OSB. Alright, so we secured the OSB with some screws. Like I mentioned before, to permanently fix it, we're going to need nails. Don't worry about the holes left by screws. If you want to seal them up, you can seal them up with some flashing tape, which we'll discuss later. But also notice, I forgot to mention this, we also have these guides here and on this side, so that when we nail it in, or we screw it in, they're flush against the window and the edge. Alright, so earlier I mentioned that I could do this by myself, so I'm going to show you how buff I am. And we cut it a bit so that it would be up to spec. So So when you put this in, you have to make sure that you have a 1/16 of an inch gap between the OSB boards vertically. So when I put this in, you'll see you'll see that on this side there is a big gap. There's going to be a big gap on here, but if we push this side a bit, which I can't really well because I don't have traction with these, and the reason that they have a gap is to allow for expansion, because due to the wood naturally expanding due to moisture and whatever. At least in this direction vertically, it doesn't really matter because there's gaps. There's space for it to expand. However, on this side, if you butt up two pieces together and they want to expand, that's not gonna work out correctly, especially like on the roof. If there's no gap between them and they expand, then it's gonna buckle and all the nails are gonna pop out. And I've actually heard that some building inspectors, if they don't see a gap between your OSB boards, they will make you cut it. And especially it's especially important if you live in an area with volatile weather such as New England, which it goes like hot, cold all the time. It's very important to make sure that you have this under lock and key. If you want to ensure that you have a gap, it's a good idea to have 10 or 18 nails. You just put them right in between them. And as you can see, we have this done on both sides. But you'll also notice that because we have a gap between these boards, it's not going to be airtight. Like right here, you can see it's completely covered. But right here, there's going to be a spot where some air can leak in. And if you saw it before, we actually are able to stop that if we use flashing tape. If we use flashing tape, this is going to create an airtight seal under the gap so that air can't leak through. Now, some people will also, so these are the flashing tape. If you want to buy them, we'll probably put them in the description down below or comment them down below. But some other people recommend using caulk. And caulk, well, that's a good idea. It's a bit flexible, so while the wood is expanding, it might still be able to expand and it might warp a bit if you use caulk. So for this case, we recommend using flashing tape. But in our case, we are building a sunroom which isn't really a 3-season sunroom, which isn't really necessary to think about into like air tightness, because we're not going to be using this in the winter, so it's not much of a priority for us. But if you want to find out more, I suggest you do some research for yourself because it's very fascinating. Alright, so that's all for now on our segment of how to install the OSB board. Thanks for popping up in this video, Tommy. I really appreciate it. And look forward to, in our next videos, how to the right nails to use for installing OSB board, how to use the flashing tape, how to cut the windows, and many more other videos that we'll be doing on converting our patio to a 3-season sunroom. And me and Azami will see you there. But for now, I'm Ayman.
I'm Azami.
And thanks for watching. Please like to comment, subscribe, and look at other videos on Ayman, especially our videos on converting our patio to a sunroom. And we'll see you there. For now, signing out. Peace.
Benton.